my history on the wall. Sports Illustrated to, you know, a great picture of Ann Cole. Years ago, we shot the model Janice Dickinson. Here's a Women's Wear Daily cover shot when I was at La Blanca, which was like, you know, California's hot suit. You know, intermixed with some fashion illustrations. Been so fortunate in my career that I've worked with such amazing people that, you know, were mentors and friends at the same time. You know, starting with Rosemary Brantley at Otis Parsons. To this day, we still talk, we're still friends. Then I went to work for, you know, Gary Nickerson, who was brilliant. And after that, I worked with Anne and Lynn Copeland. I also worked with Linda Wachner. You know, who was a tough lady. You learn different things. You learn good and bad, and you evaluate how that kind of incorporates into your ideas and how you want to run a business and how you want to run a design staff. And then, of course, in the end, I worked for Marvin Goodman in Apparel Ventures for 17 years. And he was the owner, but we kind of built a much closer relationship at the end because I wasn't working under Lynn Copeland anymore. I kind of took on LeBlanc. He kind of handed it to me because our business, once again, you know, everything's cyclical, it's up and down, and we were at a little bit of a flat point. He said, listen, I just want you to focus on this and bring it back. And then, of course, unfortunately, after we got our business back and they were primed for sale, Marvin unfortunately passed away. But I mean, you know, like some people say, oh, I have one mentor in my career, but I really have to say I've worked under so many incredible people that have, you know, have had a vision, had ideas, and were willing to take me under their wing and teach me. Even when hooking up with Amerex, I mean, Ira, you know, Ganger, who runs Amerex, was trying to build a swimwear business and started with Red Carter. He had the Jessica Simpson license. So we kind of were a different product category for them. I mean, obviously Red Carter's designer, Jessica Simpson is kind of, you know, kind of young contemporary. So we were more Missy contemporary weeks that kind of filled the void in their swimwear portfolio. And I think, you know, he came here, he saw what we were doing, and he really believed in what we were doing, and he stuck behind it. And it's been a great thing because, you know, our business is really thriving right now and growing. You know, as we start the collection, we start to kind of look at trends, what's happening, evaluate our business and how we want to move forward. Because, you know, it's like, we don't just leave it all behind. There's things that come forward, whether it's bodies and silhouettes and things like that. Then we start to put the color palette together, and then the color palette, once we establish it and start lab dipping for it, then we start to work on the artwork and get it into the color palette. I think for me now, one of the best things about the business is that I'm surrounded by all these young people. Because, you know, I don't want to say, hey, I'm old, but I've been doing this a really long time, so you get kind of a fresh kind of perspective on it when somebody else is looking at it. Like I say, what do you guys think of this print? I mean, ultimately I have to buy it if I like it, but I like to know what they think because they have a different eye than I do and they see things differently.
We buy the artwork like this, and then we work with a graphic designer, and he will recolor, redo layouts and stuff. And we use like our dress form when we're shopping to like see if we like the way things lay out.
I like to have an inspiration wall, and I like to see the fabric when I come in, and I like to cut the swatches and look at it. So basically when we put the palette together and we approve all the lab dips and we start to get yardage in, I mean, this was like an old Gary Nickerson thing when I was at La Blanca. He always said to me, I need you to cut swatches for me because we got to put a wall together as we merchandise online. So we put a palette together and we start to hang all the swatches of the solids and mesh and linings and everything that work together. And then when we get strike-offs of all the different prints, then we put the swatches up here from cover-ups to swim to whatever, so that we kind of see how it starts to flow together. This is the part of the process that I like the best because it's really kind of where I get to sit down and think and kind of take a concept and I can start to develop it from, like, say for instance, like a one piece, but then to a variety of silhouettes in the one piece category, and then take that concept and develop it into a bikini or a tankini or a bra. So then once we get to this point, then a lot of times I'll work with Kelly Loxton in New York, and we together will kind of merchandise and edit the sketches and put them into a group. And then from that point, then I go to the room next door and I give them to the pattern makers, and they'll start to make a first pattern. From the point of the design team putting together color and print and sketches, then obviously this is where strike-offs all come in, and our cutter cuts the first patterns. The pattern makers will get the sketch, and from the sketch they'll make a first pattern and then give it to the cutter. And then it ends up on the machine for our sewers are. And we sew all the first samples here and through production release. Listen, you know, you're fortunate in career if you get a really hot suit. So this has been, you know, honestly our, you know, #1 selling silhouette over the last couple of seasons. From being solid to being done as like a multicolor like this, did it, you know, with gold. In the swimwear business, it's not, the silhouettes don't always change so dramatically season to season. They have a life, and so, you know, what happens is if you get onto a hot silhouette, then you just kind of update it and keep it kind of going, and, you know, add different things to it to extend its life. So this is the newest version of it where we added some hardware to it, and so it kind of, you know, gives it a different look, but yet it's the same silhouette, the same fit. It's had several name changes, but it's basically called, you know, the Naughty suit. Oh yeah, and now the update to Naughty is now called Twister. So it's kind of, you know, same kind of fit and details, but the technique and the concept has changed slightly. I have pattern makers, which a lot of the swimwear industry nowadays is like they just have tech designers. So I think the thing that really kind of sets us apart from a lot of how the things are changing in our business is that we still have pattern makers that make the first pattern through production. We fit it here, and then we don't release it to production in Asia until it's fit perfectly. So I think, you know, what's happened in our business, which is interesting, whether it's good or bad, that's left for people to decide, is that it's when people work on a tech pack in the computer, they're always working flat. And I really think that is an advantage to us right now. I have really amazing pattern makers that are quite technical and they understand the fit. Our pattern makers have an experience where they work three-dimensionally. Our customer range and age is really broad. You know, I mean, we do brief bikinis all the way to one pieces. So, and you know, we're not super skimpy. But it's interesting, the suit that's been our top seller, the age range has been crazy. We've seen young girls in Vegas posting it on Instagram. We obviously we're offering something to the customers that other people aren't. You know, I think, you know, it's like my aesthetic along with the team of people that I work with that are putting a product category together that is fashion, it's quality, it's fit, and we stand behind it. And I always used to say, it's not that we're so smart, but maybe we just work harder. And like taking this on at that point in my life when we kind of started this, it wasn't like, it turned out to be a lot harder than I thought. But it's been worth it. And I think, you know, it's like what drives you. It's like you have to be passionate about this business. Listen, you have to also be willing to change and adapt. It's like fashion is about change. So I think the thing that's interesting is that you have to be able to say, attack a challenge, figure out what's right or wrong, and get to a solution quickly. But at the same time, it's like this business is always changing. There's new color, there's new prints, there's new trends. So it's like you're in constant motion, you know, and you have to make it fun and exciting. And it's like a ton of hard work. So it's also, I think, it's my vision and my aesthetic of how I see things. But you know, like honestly, it's not just me. It's like a team of people, like I said, as well as working with the merchandiser in New York, Kelly Loxton. So together, you know, we took a business that was honestly kind of, you know, on a downwards, you know, spiral and have really brought it back.